This is a follow-on from a video I did a couple of weeks ago about what I would be doing if I was starting a new soap and skincare business in 2024. This is moving on to what I would do if my business was struggling, not making the sales that I wanted it to, and just generally not performing or plateauing. So first things first, I'll keep this quite short and sweet. It's not a whole big strategy. It's just have a look at these few things. But generally, I keep saying it, business is not rocket science. It's generally a combination of having the right product, selling it at a price which makes you a profit, and having a steady supply of customers. That's all it is. So if you are not making sales or things are not working out quite as you had hoped, it will generally be one of those three things that you can look at in the first instance and make some tweaks to change things. So first things first, let's have a little look at the products that you sell. Now, the world changes. We need to look at the economy, what's happening, different events that are going on, prices of raw materials. We need to look at all those things on a regular basis. They're all out of your control. There's not much you can do about any of them, but you do need to be aware of what's happening and adapt your business to accommodate and evolve so that you can stay viable at the end of the day. To put that in perspective, if Apple was still selling iPods, they wouldn't be here. They've evolved, and as things have dropped out of favour, they've moved on and into new products, and that's constantly happening. And you will see that always happens in any business that's doing well, is things will change all the time. So we've had a lot to deal with in the last few years. We've had COVID, which meant we all changed our shopping habits to online. A lot of small businesses started in that time and boomed because they had a captive market. That is not the case anymore. So again, those businesses will have had to have adapted and tweaked and made changes to continue. We've had the Ukraine war, which has had an impact on the cost of some of our raw materials, and also the availability of some raw materials. That's still ongoing, no end in sight for that. That will impact on you, even as a small business, indirectly. Next thing we've had is the poor crops for olive oil and cocoa butter at the moment, and the price of those is just going up and up and up. And from what I've heard, that's not going to change anytime soon. So these external factors are all things that will impact on your sales, and unless you're aware of them, you can't make changes in your business. So you do need to look at what's going on in the wider market. I would suggest reviewing what's going on at least twice a year if you can. I know it's time consuming, I know it's boring, it's not very sexy, but it's got to be done, unfortunately, especially now because things are changing so quickly. So the first thing I would do is look at the products that I'm selling and review those. Look at each one, look at each product line. Is it profitable? Well, first of all, is it selling? Are you selling much of it, or is it always sat on the shelf? If it's sat on the shelf and it's really not going, and you just need to get rid of it. To put it bluntly, there's no point in having a product in your product range which is not selling. You can have a little look at whether it's aligned with everything else in your range. Is your target market buying that kind of product? If they are and they're not buying yours, what's the reason for that? There's a lot of research you can do around that. It may be around messaging, it may be around branding, it may be the fact that you're not telling them that it's there. If you're not regularly sending out emails or you're not talking about it on social media, how do people know what you are selling? Because then they don't just find your website and go and have a look around for fun. Generally, they will see something that catches their attention and then that will send them to you. So review your products, analyse what's happening there, make some harsh decisions about what needs to go. That can include bringing something new in. If there's a new trend, for example, around I don't know, let's say for example, body products, body moisturiser, if something is out there which is selling really well for other people, the chances are, depending on your niche, it might sell well for you, so it might well be a case of bringing something new in. Personally, at the current time, I am more about streamlining my range. The reason for that is if I'm making a lot of products with lots of different ingredients, I've got to have a lot of different raw materials, which is time consuming from a stock control perspective. It means that quite often we'll have money tied up in raw materials that I might not use quickly because the products are moving slowly. I would much rather at the moment have a small range which is really aligned with my customers, and sell more of those things. And that is something that I'm going to be looking at myself. And this is a perfect example. Last year I brought out a whole new range of human products. At the time we weren't in a recession. We've since hit a recession. The prices of some of those raw materials that I'm using are just continuing to go up. And I did invest a lot of money in bringing that range out, in photographs, the time I spent on the website, etc., etc. But if it's not working for me, I will discontinue it. I may well bring things back in at a later date, just as a limited edition, for example. I've got the assessments, I can do that, but if they're not working, they need to go. The next thing I would need to be looking at is my pricing. So I know this is a painful topic, I've talked about it before. If your pricing is not making you a sufficient profit, your business is not going to succeed. You need to have a decent profit margin, and if that means you need to put your prices up or look at ways of reducing your costs, whether that be by making products slightly smaller or switching ingredients in and out, then you will need to be doing that. So again, if things are plateauing or you're not making the profit that you did or you hope to, look at your pricing. It's just one of those jobs that needs to be done. So that's selling at a price that makes a sufficient product. Number 3 is having a regular supply of customers. Now this is the biggest topic. It's not an easy topic. There's no one size fits all. There's no black and white, do this, this and this. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. A lot will depend on your niche, how good you are at marketing, how active you are at social media, how are you driving people to your website, for example. If you don't have people going to your website, they're not going to be buying your products. Are you meeting people out in public? Are you collecting email addresses there and making sure that you keep in touch with people? But having a regular supply of customers is probably the one thing that you should always have in the back of your mind. How are you going to reach, well, who are your customers? Where do they hang out? How are you going to reach them? This is a completely different topic. I'm not going to go into lots of detail. But you need to have the answers to all of those to be able to make sure that you are always putting yourself in front of your customers. It could be a case of you need to have more wholesalers because those wholesalers are your shop windows. It could be a case of collaborating with somebody else who has a similar customer base to what you have or what you would like. It could be doing pop-up shops in a venue which is full of your customers or your ideal customers. There's so many different things you can do and you can't do all of them at once, so a lot will depend on your individual circumstances. But in a nutshell, if you can streamline your products so that you're only doing products that sell and sell well, and then you can spend more time marketing those. Get your pricing right so that you're making a profit is sufficient to always be moving you forward in your business, and making sure that you have a regular supply of customers. And however you decide to do that depends a lot on your individual business. But those are the 3 things that I would be looking at first if I wanted to either grow my business or, more particularly at the moment, make sure that it's sustainable and keeps going and I'm making regular sales. Okay, I hope that helps. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you'd like to see any other topics, give me a shout, and I'm always looking for things to add to my to-do list for ways I can help you. Okay.